Campus United brings together on Carleton campus undergraduate and graduate students, support staff who are members of CUPE 2424, contract instructors and teaching assistants who are members of CUPE 4600, tenured faculty who are members of the Carleton University Academic Staff Association, as well as repair workers who are commonly known around campus as the Blue Shirts, who are members of CUPE 910. Basically, the organization came about in 2007, around the time of the strike that was looming at that time of CUPE 2424. And essentially, like the administration who have committees which all different parts of the administrative function of campus get together in and discuss what's going on, coordinate strategy. Campus United is a way for the people who pay for the university to run and the people that make university work to come together, make sure we're all on the same page, basically inform each other of what's going on in our own respective communities, so workers know what students are facing, and at the same time that we know what's going on in labor negotiations and are able to transmit that to our members. And it also helps us coordinate. We feel that as the stakeholders on the campus, we all do have a common interest in making a high-quality public education as accessible as possible to people, and is also as good an experience for both students and workers as possible. And by coming together at a table, coordinating and discussing our common goals, we find this the best way to do that.
So what would those common goals that you have with, say, CUPE and CUASA be? Can you just give me maybe a few examples of the kinds of things that you're both seeking?
Yeah, well, for students, and we were both seeking a high-quality public education that's accessible to all Canadians. One thing that's really wonderful about being able to work with professors, contract instructors, and TAs on campus is they're all incredibly supportive of the goals of students and the student movement as a whole, which is to eliminate financial barriers to education, and have been great partners in that fight. If it was the students alone advocating for these things, would be a setback, but professors and other educators, including support staff, the people that run the libraries, different offices on campus, they all see the reality of education, and some of them experience it the same as students do. A lot of the people that work on campus also take classes here, and we all know what it's going to take to have a good academic environment for students, so we work towards that. For workers, we know as students that if people are being treated unfairly on campus, are not being bargained with fairly, are being given proposals that could both endanger their jobs and endanger the educational experience of students, we have significant common ground that we can stand on to move forward.
So is that what you would say, the reason why, say, CUSA and GSA are involved with Campus United in the labor negotiations that are ongoing right now with CUPE 2424 and CUPE 4600? Is that the reasoning then?
Sure. Well, I mean, the labor negotiations themselves are conducted by the individual bargaining units, and we don't have any input on that. But what it does allow is for us to hear straight from the source what's actually taking place in those negotiations, what the atmosphere is, how workers on campus are being treated, so we can effectively transmit this to our members and make sure that students are as informed as possible.
Right. So in the event of a strike, what's Campus United's position? Are you in support of a strike for CUPE, or are you against having a strike?
We're not in support or against having a strike. If a strike occurs, it's going to be because it's the last possible recourse for the bargaining units on campus. Everybody wanted to start bargaining as early as possible in the summer, try to get as many dates as possible then, because nobody that works on campus wanted to make this an issue that could possibly endanger students. So the bargaining units have been asking for dates, and basically we've encountered what a lot of people call brinkmanship bargaining, which is that the university comes to the table really not prepared to negotiate, not prepared to actually talk about details, but rather to say, sorry, this is what we want, take it or leave it. And that's not negotiating in good faith. That's not something that's in the interest of our members, the students, or the people that make campus work. So if a strike happens, we'll be out there on the picket lines supporting our partners in education, just as they would be supporting us in any struggle that the students are leading.
And what about students that are really against a strike happening? As also executive on CUSA, some students may express concern that they want to get back to class as soon as possible. Yeah. And if members of CUSA are out on the picket line, that may seem like they're not being supportive of getting back to class. Yep.
Well, we're all against a strike happening, absolutely. I mean, nobody wants it to happen, especially not actually the workers who are negotiating. It wouldn't be a positive experience for anybody. But what we would say to students is if a strike does happen, the best way to get this strike over and done is to tell the administration that you want them to end this, that you want them to come to the table with real offers that you want them to negotiate fairly, so we can all move on from this. It's not a York situation at Carleton, fortunately. I don't think there's a lot of comparisons to be made to York, but what we have seen in other situations in Canada, as well as here at Carleton so far, is the more informed students are about what's actually been going on in the negotiations, the more eager people are to actually help move this forward, help avoid a strike, by putting pressure on the one component of this that's making things very difficult, and currently that's the administration of the university.
And what's the line of communication like right now between, maybe not the unions that are currently negotiating contracts, but say with CUSA and the GSA right now? Because I know there's other issues that you're dealing with separately as student unions, but between Campus United and the university, is it amicable right now? How would you describe the relationship?
Well, an open letter was recently sent out by Campus United to Minister John Malloy, as well as to the media, and that letter actually described the overall situation at Carleton as a scorched earth approach from the administration. We're actually seeing that from all levels right now. It's kind of unprecedented in Canada that you have a campus administration that's this hostile to every single stakeholder on campus. So the GSA and CUSA currently are basically being blackmailed by the administration to sign a license agreement which would essentially sell out our members. We'll give the administration the ability to evict us from our offices with 3 months' notice, the ability to take over our businesses, to refuse levies that students have voted for democratically, and we're not in a position where we're prepared to accept that, so we've actually asked the courts to intervene, because what the university is doing right now is it's basically holding our license, or it's holding the fees that students pay for the operation of student services, and while they're sitting and collecting interest in order to shut down our entire operation to pressure us into signing this really bunk deal. And it's basically, if you were in a union, it'd be a similar position to the employer coming in and saying, well, here, I want all your financial information, give it up. When really, we answer to our members, we answer to the student body as a whole. Any student can come in and see all of our financial information, our audits, and we definitely encourage students to do that. But we're not in a position where we're ready to completely give out control of the purse strings to a completely different body, which we actually don't answer to whatsoever. So in general at Carleton, we see a total lack of respect across the board, including for clubs and societies, for other independent student groups who are having trouble securing student space. One thing about the strike in particular is a lot of students are very worried, and we're in constant communication with students that don't know what's going to happen. And we've repeatedly asked the administration to be public about what it intends to do to protect students in the event of a strike. There's been frequent mention of an emergency committee that the Senate can strike in order to protect students, but time and time again there's been not one word of one concrete detail about what they'll actually do to make sure that people's education is not in jeopardy. So on November 18th at 2 p.m. there's been an emergency Senate meeting called. This was requested by a number of students and professors who sit on the Senate, and that meeting will deal specifically with a motion on academic amnesty, which has been brought forth by the student associations. What we intend to argue for and hopefully secure at this meeting is a blanket amnesty for students who either choose not to cross the picket line, or what may be very common in the event of a strike due to buses not coming on campus, things like that, students who are simply unable to physically get to campus or be able to complete requirements based on professors or TAs not being present and things like that. We know that in an event of a strike, if students are given blanket immunity and are not punished for the actions of the administration, then I think the school will be healthier as a result, and I think that negotiations will proceed more quickly as a result.
And what do you see as the outcome of that meeting? Do you see the academic amnesty being a possibility in the event of a strike?
I think it's definitely a possibility. In my opinion, it's actually a necessity. And the real question is whether the senior administration will get on board with this and agree with what the students have put forward. We've collected thousands of petition signatures already asking for academic amnesty, and the professors, TAs, contract instructors are very much in support of academic amnesty for students. So really, I do challenge President Runte and the senior administration to back this and get on board with what everybody on campus is asking for.